Well, hey there, Badgers, and welcome back to the Gritty Glitter Badger podcast. I'm your host, Krista, and this is where I like to question everything, all the things, and embrace the messy middle and turn discomfort into Badger rocket fuel, if you will. And as I said, I'm your host, and I'm the founder of the Gritty Glitter Badger brand and lifelong fitness rebel and professional, hopefully today, professional motivation myth buster. So I would like to torch what I feel is one of the bigger lies in the self-help industry that we are being sold, and that is being perpetuated. And that is this sparkly, glittery bullshit about finding your motivation, okay? And waiting for inspiration to strike. And I'm about to show you why motivation is as reliable as a chocolate teapot, and why the real engine of change has been hiding in plain sight this whole time. I'm going to dive into the science of momentum, specifically the, micro momentum here. And I'm like getting comfortable on my chair and getting my feet up because it's a great big chair. This is real live podcasting here, people. So it's me in my chair shifting and things around like as I need. Also, I am going to talk about how tiny, unsexy actions actually can help to create massive transformations while everyone else is still scrolling through, motivational quotes or what have you. And I'm not saying that they're wrong because I love a good motivational quote. And I have motivational playlists that I like to listen to, like talking motivational speeches from different people, right? But it's like relying on them as our only source. I want to get into and dive into that today. So grab your coffee, grab your tea, prepare to have your mind blown. And for the love of all that's holy, stop waiting to feel like it. So get your sneakers off, get your sneakers on, boots off, whatever it is, excuses out. And we're going to get science mode activated along with just the Badger vibe. So let's freaking cruise on in to the topic of the day. The myth of motivation and the science of momentum. Why motivation is unreliable and how micro momentum becomes the real engine of change. Okay, Badgers. Now it's confession time. How many motivational quotes do you have saved on your phone or do you have written? If I would have on my regular background, I have a whole bunch, right? Or how many vision boards are collecting dust in your closet or, whatever it is? And how many times have you said, I'll start when I feel motivated? And again, I'm speaking from experience. This is not a point a finger. I'm speaking because I've been there and I still find myself there on the occasion, right? And if you're anything like 97% of humans, you've been sold the lie that transformation starts with feeling inspired, right? And that somewhere out there is the perfect quote, or it could be the right podcast episode. And I'm not knocking a podcast episode, believe me, for obvious reasons. Or there's this magical morning routine that's going to flood you with this unstoppable, unflappable motivation. But here's your wake up call. Motivation is a fickle bitch who shows up every day, that this is, who shows up every day, right? It's our momentum. It's not the motivation, it is the momentum that is going to be the reliable friend, right? Motivation again is fickle. And it's like, basically like, I don't feel like it, which is going to be like most days, or sometimes, and I don't know if this happens to you, but this happens to me. I will feel motivated randomly at like 2 o'clock in the morning when I'm like actually not even going to do the thing. It's the weirdest thing, right? But again, like I mentioned, momentum is your reliable friend. And she's going to show up every day. She's even going to have coffee in hand and be like, hey, here you go. Let's get to work, right? And she also doesn't give a fuck about your feelings. She doesn't give a shit about all your excuses. She doesn't give a shit about all of that. She is like, okay, here we go. So, the neuroscience of why motivation fails. And spoiler, your brain is the problem. While your brain is an amazing thing, I want to get scientific with this and I want to talk about why your motivation strategy is doomed from the start. So, your brain runs on two primary systems, right? So the first one is the limbic system, and this is your emotional reward seeking toddler type brain, if you will. And then we have the prefrontal cortex. This is your rational planning adult brain. So I want you to guess which one controls motivation. That's right. It's the toddler, the limbic system. And toddlers, if you have a child or you have been around a child, they are notorious for being unreliable and, they want ice cream for dinner and they're going to throw a tantrum. It doesn't matter where they're at, like whatever in the middle of Target and throw themselves on the floor and roll around and scream, right? And it could be because they're tired, because they want this or whatever it is, right? And Dr. B.J. Fogg from Stanford's Behavior Lab found that motivation follows a very predictable wave pattern. Peak motivation lasts 24 to 48 hours max. So think starting let's say a new fitness program or whatever, you're starting something new. You're like totally all jacked up in those first 24 to 48 hours. And you're like, let's fucking go, right? And then it crashes hardest when you need it most. And it's also inversely related to difficulty. So the harder something is, the less motivated you're going to feel. Meanwhile, there is research from MIT that shows momentum operates through completely different neural pathways, specifically the basal ganglia. And this is what handles those automatic behaviors, right? So this is part of your brain that doesn't need to feel like brushing your teeth. It just does it. Now, I mean, if you have a child, they may feel like it, it might be a struggle, but you know what I'm saying. Um, it could be that where things that are just so automatic to you, filling up your water, getting your coffee, like it doesn't need to feel like it. It just does it. And the translation is waiting for motivation is like waiting for that toddler to make good decisions. Well, good luck with that, because what do you think is going to happen there, right? So now let's talk about and break down those 3 lies motivation tells you and why we keep falling for them. So the first lie is you need to feel ready before you start. And this is like saying that you need to feel sleepy before going to bed. And typically, like me, I know like what time I like to be in bed and I'm not sleepy. Like I will read my book. I have like the Beam Dream chocolate, hot chocolate that I'll drink, right? Things like that. You know, you don't feel motivated to work out. And this is something, man, this happens to me all the time. And I have people ask all the time, how do you stay motivated to work out? I don't. I am not motivated to work out more often than not. I work out and then I feel motivated to continue. I get there, I do like the warm up, and then I feel motivated to take that next step, right? Now, number 2 is successful people are just more motivated. And this one is huge. And I feel like this could almost be number 1. It was really hard when I like was sifting through and trying to pick out like what order so basically it's like there's really not an order to these. They're just all very important. So we know that is wrong. Successful people have systems that work regardless of motivation. And Michael Phelps is a huge person that did this. He did not feel motivated to jump into a cold ass pool at like 5 o'clock in the morning every day for 20 years. He had momentum, right? And there's a big difference between the two. Now, lie number 3, if it's the right goal, you'll stay motivated. So even the most quote unquote perfect goal can't overcome your brain's basic wiring. You could be passionate as fuck about getting healthy or passionate about starting this business or doing this thing, whatever it is, right? But passion doesn't wake you up when the alarm goes off. Momentum does. It doesn't mean that passion isn't helpful, but the momentum, that is the thing that gets you going. Now let's talk about this micro momentum revolution, or how to hack your brain's operating system. So here's where shit starts to get very, very interesting. While everyone else is waiting for this motivation lightning to strike, smart badgers, people who listen to this, start building micro momentum. And I'm talking about tiny, repeatable actions that are going to bypass your emotional brain entirely. And Dr. Robert Mauer's research on the Kaizen, but I'm probably pronouncing this wrong. It's a continuous small improvements. Kaizen shows that actions requiring less than 2 minutes of effort don't trigger your brain's resistance response. So your amygdala, which is your fear center, literally doesn't register those as threats. And then this means that your brain can slip past your, this means you can slip past your brain's, like basically it's your brain's security system, like a ninja, dress all in black, right? And you can just totally get past it and bypass it. And the science of how micro momentum actually works is something like this. So when you complete a micro action, right, three things happen. So you get a dopamine release, and this is your brain. It rewards any completed action with dopamine hit, right? It doesn't matter if it's one push up or 100. A completion equals a reward. Then you have the neural pathway formation. So each repetition is going to strengthen that neural connection. So after 66 days average, right? Not 21, like we all hear, that is really complete bullshit. And I've actually done podcasts where I talked about this, but after the average of 66 days, it starts to become automatic. Then there's identity shifting, right? And James Clear, his research shows that we become what we repeatedly do. So you do one push-up daily, you're becoming someone who exercises daily. Your brain can't argue with evidence. Now, the compound effect is going, it's really insane, okay? One push-up becomes two. And it's funny because I've said this to people, clients, I've said it to people at the gym, and they're like, well, I want to be able to do, I want to be able to do push-ups like you. Let's use push-ups as an example, since it was mentioned with James Clear and this. And it's like, I'm doing how many? It's like, okay, well, guess what? It's like, I didn't start there. It's like I started with one push-up, and I'm talking about one really crappy push-up when I first started. And then eventually that one push-up became two. And then over time, the push-ups became quality push-ups that I could do for an extended period of time. I could do longer, sets of quality push-ups, but it started with one, right? And then over time, two becomes 10. 10 becomes a full workout, or whatever that looks like for you. But it starts with being willing to do something so small, so tiny, that your excuses sound ridiculous. So I want to get into what I like to call the fuck your feelings momentum protocol. And this is where, it's being ready to stop being motivation's bitch, right? It's like you are going to take back control. And here's what your new operating system could look like. So phase one, and this is that stupidly small start that I had mentioned earlier. We're going to look like, and this is where I would like you to get a pen and paper. If you're in your car, wait, don't do that, but wait till you get home. And I would like you to write this down. So phase one, the stupidly small start. This is days 1 through 14. So pick one action so small that you actually would be embarrassed to not do it. It could be one push-up. It could be a 1-minute walk. It could be one 8-ounce glass of water, one vegetable. Trade one thing for one vegetable. One page of reading, okay? And now it's important. I don't hero up on this, okay? It's like, and I get it. I see you thinking, well, one, God, that's so fucking stupid. What'll happen is you'll set, like, I'll do 20 push-ups, and then no, you do, you don't, and you can't get there, and then it's like, well, what's the point? Okay, so you've already stopped yourself, self-sabotage before you've even started. And that's why I'm saying one, whatever the hard thing is for you, one, okay? And then you do the one and you build the habit. Don't pamper your ego. Don't feed into your ego. So now phase 2, this is going to be the anchor method days. And this is days 15 through 30, right? And this is you're going to attach your micro action to something that you already do. A lot of people like to call this habit stacking, okay? So coffee brewing could equal push-up time. Bathroom visit, 5 squats. Phone unlock equals a deep breath. Shower start equals a gratitude thought, right? And I'm not saying all of these are just some examples. And your existing habits become triggers for new ones, right? Your brain loves patterns. It adores them. It's in love with them. It wants to be married to patterns, okay? So now phase 3, this is the number or the 1% expansion. And this would be those days 31 through 60. And this is going to be only after consistency do you earn the expansion right. So 1 push-up then becomes 2. 1 minute walk then becomes 2 minutes. 1 glass, 8-ounce glass of water becomes 2 glasses of water, right? And I know it seems like so silly, but a lot of times we extend ourselves and we go too big too fast, all in, and then when we don't succeed we just give up. And this is where taking something like this and starting out small, again, we are increasing our capacity for consistency and then expansion. So it's increasing by 1% daily, and it sounds like nothing, but that's 37 times growth in a year. And quite honestly, math, it doesn't really give a fuck about your impatience or whatever it is. Now, phase 4, and this is going to be the momentum stack, and this is day 61 and beyond, right? This is where you start to connect those micro habits. So a push up to a plank into a squat, 3 minutes total. It could then, or something like water, vitamins, and a stretch. That would be something like 2 minutes total. Journal, meditate, read. That would be like 5 to 7 minutes. Okay. Now you've got chains of momentum. You break one link, the others keep pulling you forward. So real world momentum builders, and I like to think of these, they actually work when you just feel, dead inside. Again, you don't want to do it because, like me, I feel like you need specifics. I need specifics, right? So here are a few micro actions for every excuse, okay? The biggest one, I'm too tired. Believe me, I'm there a lot, okay? Stand up for 10 seconds, walk to the mailbox, do wall push-ups during commercial breaks, search for one song or stretch for one song, right? Take vitamins with an existing meal. You're habit stacking things together. I don't have time, right? That's another big one. Squats with coffee brews, right? So while your coffee's brewing, that's about, I don't know, it depends. Are you using a Keurig or are you using it like an actual coffee machine? So it depends on what it is, right? Calf raises while you brush your teeth, roughly 2 minutes of calf raises. You could be doing plank during, like a commercial, or, like if you're microwaving something for a minute. And you could, how about, here's something, and I really do this, cognizant of this pretty much all the time, is parking as far away as I can. That could be 30 extra steps into your day, right? You just don't even think about it. Or take the stairs for 1 floor instead of taking the elevator, right? And then increase that over time. How about I'm too out of shape? And this is important now because I feel like there's a lot of this. Sit and stand from your chair 10 times, or sit and stand from your chair 5 times. There's got to be something that's got to be a little bit difficult, but also reachable, right? How about march in place during one TV scene when whatever you're watching on TV? Hold a bottle of water, a heavy jug overhead for 5 seconds. And I'm thinking people who have never worked out, completely sedentary. How about doing, walking to the end of your driveway and back? Do that 5 times, right? Or do 1 modified push-up. Now, by modified, I mean here, I'm not a fan of the knee push-up Something that I find more effective is, if you can, is getting a band and hanging it. Now, for me, I would do it from a rig and putting that around your waist. To me, that's a modified push-up. You're getting some true help and some support with that. But the modified, that's, I feel like that can get sketched, takes you out of form. Anyway, that's a whole thing. I'm not even going to get into that because that's not what I'm talking about here. I'm not motivated. Good. Guess what? Most people aren't. Do it anyway. Set your timer for 1 minute of anything. Put on your workout clothes. Don't, just, it's like, if you wear them, the likelihood that you're going to do something increases exponentially. Fill your water bottle. Have it ready. Open a fitness app, right? That's your first step. Taking that first step. Maybe it's stand on a yoga mat for 10 seconds and you're, getting ready to, before you're doing your stretches, like you're thinking about it, but you're not quite. Go stand on the mat. Put yourself in the environment, in the situation. At least get there, right? More often than not, you are going to take the next step forward. So, what are some momentum killers and how can we totally crush them and get them out of the way, right? So, number one is that all or nothing mentality. Have had such a relationship. I've been in such a relationship with the all or nothing mentality, like we're married or something, right? So if I can't do a full workout, why bother? I used to live by this principle that, like, something, that whole thing, something is better than nothing. That didn't work for me. It had to be all or nothing. If I couldn't get the entire workout, it didn't count. Even if I spent 45 minutes and busted my ass, I didn't do the whole 90-minute workout, so it really didn't count. Well, I have moved on since then. It's taken a lot of work, but I've done it. So if I can't do the full workout, why bother? Because one push-up is infinitely more than zero, right? And perfectionism is really a pain in the ass. So momentum doesn't care about perfection, right? It cares about consistent. The other one is the comparison game. Now, it's good to have a little bit of comparison, but I'm talking about where you get to where it's volatile and it's toxic. So if you say Sarah does 90-minute workouts, right? So Sarah also started where you are right now. One push up, maybe it was 5 years ago, or, whatever that is. Stop comparing your chapter 1 to someone else's chapter 50. Build your momentum. Now, if you find her aspiring, like she's aspirational to you, that's not the same. That you look at her and it's like she's goals. That is okay. You're not comparing yourself to her as opposed to, well, I can't do this, but look what she's doing. That's like, you know what? I want to be there someday. So I'm going to start now. The number 3 killer is the complexity addiction. So I need the perfect program. And I have been seeing this a lot. And I feel, I guess maybe because it's the new year and there's all of these things out there and everybody's touting that mine is the best. And, I mean, I have an app and, I will say that, like, maybe, I feel like my program could fit you. It may or it may not, right? So you need to start. And that's the whole point. Complexity is procrastination in a really beautiful ball gown. And one simple action is going to be 47 perfect plans every stinking time. So now the 4th killer, and this is the results obsession. And, this is something I still catch myself in. I don't see changes yet. Momentum is invisible at first, right? It's like that invisible growth. You're not going to see it. Or that when you plant the seed, you don't see that right away, right? You don't see the seed growing underground. But that doesn't mean that nothing is happening. Trust the process, or you know what? Quite simply, just stay stuck. That's the option. And you always have a choice. Your choice is trust the process or stay stuck. So, what is the psychology of why this actually works, right? When nothing else has. And here's where it can become like this mind fuck. I'm going to get a sip of my tea. If you're not watching the video, you don't know what I'm doing. So you've been trying to change through force, right? But force requires motivation. willpower and perfect conditions. And I have recently been reading and understanding more about willpower. And actually, willpower is, if you put all of you focus, and then let me break this, I want to break this down very quickly because I don't want to get in depth in this. But if you put all of your energies and you really focus intently into something, right? And then you go to focus your attention into something else, because you've used so much time and energy and willpower into that first thing, there is not as much left to go on and do the other things. It's this really crazy, all of this research has been done on it, and actually probably be a really good idea to do a podcast about that. But anyway, force requires motivation, willpower, and perfect conditions. And that's like trying to push a boulder uphill in these really like high-heeled, fancy 6-inch stilettos, right? So momentum, it actually works through flow. You're not pushing the boulder, you're giving it a tiny nudge, and you're letting physics take over. And then each micro action, that's your nudge. And then eventually that boulder is rolling on its own and you're just guiding it. And Dr. Teresa Amabile from Harvard Business School studied 12,000 diary entries from 238 people, and found that progress, even tiny progress, was the #1 factor in positive emotions, motivation, and perception, not achievement. So it wasn't the recognition, progress. And your brain literally gets high on forward movement. And it doesn't matter how small it is, it's the fact that you're moving forward. So how about a 30-day micro momentum challenge? And I will not accept any excuses. So here's your homework. Get your pen, get your paper, and I want you to take this down. Week 1, pick one micro action. And this, takes less than 2 minutes, right? Be specific, not eat better, but maybe it's eat, pick a vegetable and take this out and I'm going to substitute this vegetable, right? And it has to be daily and trackable. Something else, week 2 is add an anchor. So link it to an existing habit. Maybe it's, the same time daily, or no negotiations, and track it to completion, not quality, right? Week 3 is where you can celebrate. You can celebrate like a little toddler doing like their cute little dances, right? Like literally say like, hell yeah, after each completion, and then give yourself I don't know, a dance or a high five or whatever it is, and then tell somebody about your streak. But the point is to make the completion visible. And then 4 is resisting the hero complex. Okay, do not dramatically increase. Do not add 5 more habits on top of it, right? Do not skip because it's too easy. And do trust the compound effect. So here's the uncomfortable truth about why you may be resisting this. Maybe you're hearing this and you're thinking, seriously, Krista, good God, this is like so simple. I need something more hardcore, right? Well, that's your ego talking. And your ego wants the Instagram worthy transformation montage, like we see the before and after, but we don't see all the stuff that's happening in between. Your ego wants to suffer so it feels like you're earning it. And trust me, I am speaking from experience. Your ego also is why you've started and stopped 85 times, right? Micro momentum is not sexy. It's not glamorous. It's not social media worthy. And it's not going to get you the likes or make a good story at parties, right? But you know what is going to do that? Actually fucking doing the work. And this is why everyone else is waiting for Monday. Perpetually waiting. Well, I'll start on Monday, right? Or waiting for January, or waiting to feel ready. And you'll be 300 plus micro actions ahead. And those micro actions, they're rewiring your brain. They're building your identity, and they're creating unstoppable momentum. So your new mantra, fuck motivation, feed momentum. So starting today, you're done waiting for motivation. You're done with the perfect plan, and you're done with the all or nothing bullshit that's keeping you stuck. You're going to pick one One stupidly, ridiculously small action, and you're going to do it today. After you listen to this podcast, within 1 hour, not Monday, not when you feel like it, today, within 1 hour. Because momentum, it doesn't give a shit about your feelings and all of the bogus excuses that you have or legit excuses that you feel like you have. It only cares about motion, and motion, even tiny, embarrassing, seemingly pointless motion, is what separates the people who change from the people who just continue talking about changing. And the choice is yours. So you can keep worshiping at the altar of motivation and you can stay exactly where you are, or you can join the momentum, be part of that revolution, and actually become who you claim that you want to be. One push up, one glass of water, 1 minute, one choice. So, what is it going to be? And that, my Badgers, is why we need to break up with motivation and start a lifelong relationship with momentum. Look, I get it. Micro actions feel like you're not doing enough. Your ego wants the suffering, the drama, the grand gesture. I understand this more than you even know. But you know what? Your ego doesn't want actual sustainable change, because change means your ego has to die a little bit each day. And if this hit you where it hurts, if you're tired of the motivation roller coaster and you're ready to build real momentum, come find me in the Gritty Glitter Badger fitness app, where it's not about flashy transformations. I am about the daily micro wins that add up to macro change. You can also find me at grittyglitterbadger.com. That is my social handle on Instagram. And remember, motivation is a fair weather friend. Momentum is your ride or die bitch every day. So choose wisely. This is Krista, and I'm signing off with not chalk on my hands anymore and micro actions on my mind. So stop waiting to feel ready and go do one damn thing in 1 hour. Stay gritty.